We all kind of take the US dollar's dominance for granted, right? I mean, it just seems unshakable. But what if it isn't? We're about to dive into an analysis that lays out two very different futures for the world's money. One where the dollar was almost toppled, and another, well, the reality we're in now, where its power was locked in, not by markets, but by missiles.
Okay, so before we can really get into where we're going, we have to be crystal clear on where we are right now. For decades, the answer to this question has been incredibly simple. The US dollar, it's the undisputed heavyweight champ of global finance, the absolute bedrock of the entire system.
And look, this isn't just a feeling, the numbers are just staggering. The dollar is on one side of nearly 90% of all global currency trades. A lot of this power comes from what's called the petrodollar system, this critical deal that prices the world's most vital commodity, oil, in US dollars. That single link has been the foundation of the whole global economy for a long, long time.
All right, so here's our game plan. First, we're going to survey the new digital battlefield where this whole fight is taking place. Then, we'll explore the future that almost was, a world running on China's petro-yuan. After that, we'll get into the dramatic military operation that stopped it cold, and then look at the FedCoin reality it created. And finally, we'll put these two futures head to head.
You know, the very idea of what money is, it's changing right under our noses. We're moving away from physical cash and into a world of pure digital information. This shift has basically created a brand new battlefield for financial supremacy, and it's setting the stage for a massive global showdown. And right at the heart of this conflict is this new technology, central bank digital currencies, or CBDCs. Now think of it like an official government-issued digital dollar or a digital yuan that only exists online. This isn't some private cryptocurrency like Bitcoin. This is sovereign money, just digitized. And this is where you see a massive difference in strategy. While the US was moving pretty cautiously, debating a FedCoin and letting private companies mess around with stablecoins, China went all in. They were super aggressive, rolling out their digital yuan, the eCNY, and pushing it deep into their own economy.
And that big bet China made, well, it paid off in a huge way. By late 2025, their digital currency network had already processed a jaw-dropping $2.3 trillion in transactions. I mean, they weren't just running some small-time experiment. They were building an entire parallel financial system at an absolutely incredible, world-changing scale.
So let's play a what-if game for a second. Let's imagine a world where this Chinese system just kept growing, totally unchecked. A future where the US just stood by and watched as a new monetary order began to rise, one centered not on the dollar, but on the yuan. So here's how this engine was designed to work. First, Iran, who's desperate to sell its oil, ships it to China at a discount. Then, China pays for it using its digital yuan, which completely bypasses US sanctions and the entire global banking system. And finally, Iran is basically locked in. They have to spend that digital yuan on Chinese goods and technology. It's a perfect, self-contained, closed loop. This financial loop then became the glue for a whole new geopolitical alliance, the CRINK bloc, made up of China, Russia, Iran, and North Korea. This wasn't just about money anymore. It was a powerful new front of nations all united in their opposition to the Western-led world order. Now, according to this analysis, this created a huge 2030 problem for the US, a real ticking clock. By that time, China's military would be strong enough to defend this new system. Iran's oil fields would be untouchable. Other big economies like Saudi Arabia would have no choice but to join in, which would cause the global demand for the dollar to just collapse. The US was facing a rapidly closing window to do something about it. But that future never happened. It was stopped, and stopped violently. On February 28, 2026, the United States decided to act, launching a massive military strike designed to shatter the very foundation of this rising petro-yuan system. The whole sequence of events was unbelievably fast, and it was designed for maximum shock to the system. It started with financial sanctions, but then, boom, it escalated to a massive bombing campaign, the targeted killing of Iran's top leader, and then it all culminated in Iran attacking its own shipping to blockade a critical global waterway. So the operation had these stated military goals, right? Neutralize Iran's nuclear program and military. But then there was this other objective, and it was just as important: the kinetic enforcement of global macroeconomic dominance. In other words, this was a monetary war fought with actual bombs and missiles. And the economic impact?
It was immediate and it was global. The price of Brent crude oil shot up by nearly $10 a barrel overnight and just kept spiking, sending this massive inflationary shockwave all through the world economy. The physical supply chain for the petro-yuan was completely shattered. Shipping through the Strait of Hormuz, the world's most critical energy choke point, plummeted by 86%. The artery that was supposed to feed this new system was now almost totally severed. So with the petro-yuan's main artery cut, the US moved in to fill that power vacuum. It basically weaponized the very crisis it had created to launch its own digital monetary order and to force the world onto a new American-controlled system. The U.S. fused its military power directly with its monetary policy. The offer to the world was simple, and it was pretty much non-negotiable. If you want your oil tankers to be protected by the U.S. Navy, then you will settle that trade on our new digital dollar platform. Period. And this new FedCoin system is the ultimate tool of financial control. See, because it's a state-backed digital currency, every single transaction is completely transparent to the U.S. Treasury in real time. The kind of sanctions dodging that Iran and China were planning for, it's now just impossible. Okay, so let's put these two divergent paths right next to each other. We've got the petro-yuan world that was prevented, and the FedCoin world that was implemented through sheer force. I mean, the contrast here is just night and day. In the petro-yuan scenario, the world would have split into a two-currency system, anchored by Iranian oil where sanctions could be easily sidestepped and U.S. power would have slowly faded. In the FedCoin reality, the one we got, dollar supremacy is stronger than ever. It's anchored by U.S.-secured oil, sanctions evasion is impossible, and American military leverage is back in a big way. So that chance for a rival currency to maybe unseat the dollar, well, it wasn't lost because of market forces or economic competition. That window was slammed shut and locked by overwhelming military force. And this really gets us to the core takeaway of this whole analysis. We've entered a totally new paradigm where financial dominance isn't just about economics anymore. It's now about the direct technological fusion of military might and monetary policy. And that leaves us with a final, pretty provocative thought. As money becomes nothing more than digital information, has the ability to project overwhelming physical force become the most important financial technology of all? That's a question the world is going to be grappling with for years to come.